So we're back again with the 2015 Ford Expedition. It is a turbocharged EcoBoost, and we're pulling a check engine light code. The code we're pulling is a P0303. So that's an engine misfire code. The 03 at the tail end says that it's happening on cylinder number 3. So the most likely cause of that is spark plugs getting just too old. They haven't been changed out in a timely manner according to a maintenance schedule. So clearly the first thing we want to do is change out the spark plugs and see if that resolves the problem. Most likely will. It's not likely that we've got trouble with any of the other ignition parts that may be causing us to pull that misfire. But that's the way we're going to proceed. So we're going to go ahead and pull the spark plugs. Of course, we want to change all the spark plugs, and so that's what we'll be doing in this video. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pull the plastic cowling off so that we can get access. It's actually a very simple process. You just have to remove the oil cap, and then that kind of holds down the cowling. Just pull up on the cowling and wiggle it around a little bit, and it'll come loose from the back. So once you have that out, then it's easy to spot where your spark plugs are. You can begin to start working on replacing the plugs. Over on this side, it's way down in here. Over on this side, you'll see that it's down in the corner down there. So those are what we need to pull. We'll also need to take this cowling off back here because that'll get us to the last spark plug back there. So that's the order of things that we're going to proceed with. We'll take and illustrate how to replace one of the spark plugs just off of one of the real easy ones to get to and easy to film. But basically, all of the spark plugs come out exactly the same way. It's a good idea to go ahead and put the oil cap back in place just to keep from anything falling down into the engine. Clearly, if you accidentally drop something in there that's substantial other than a little bit of dirt, it can cause some real problems. So, you don't want to have any open access ports into your engine. All right, on the driver's side, there's a couple of things you need to get out of the way in order to get at the spark plugs. One is you need to pull this rubber cover off, which keeps that back area clean. So it just squeezes and pulls off. You don't have to, but it's a good idea to go ahead and pull off the backflow hose for the emissions control. It's got a little button down at the back. Just push that forward to unloosen the clip, and if you just swing it out of the way, that gives you better access into this port here. And then you'll need to remove the electrical connector back here off of that last one in order to have an easier access to that spark plug there. Again, these just make your life a little easier. Of course, the rubber has to be removed, but the other ones just makes your life a lot easier. So now we're going to film off of the passenger side. There's really nothing that needs to be moved off the passenger side, but we're going to move over there just because it's easier to show the removal of the first spark plug that we're going to do over there. All right, now these clips that are on here can be just a little bit tricky. You want to be patient and you want to be careful because they are all plastic. To begin with, you need to pull down this red locking clip. The red locking clip locks this in place so that it doesn't come loose. Once you have that in place, if you've got really, really great thumbnails, you can possibly get on there. But you'll find most people will use, it has little steps right here, will use a screwdriver to push down. I don't know if you could hear it on camera, but there's a little bit of a click. Personally, when playing with plastic parts, I like using plastic tools. These are actually for taking off door panels and things of that nature. But, they're real nice and gentle, and you're dealing with plastic on plastic. And so you might have to just play with it a little bit and make sure you get everything unlocked. But as you can see, it can be just a little bit stubborn. All right, there it goes. So I got it passed with the plastic tool. You now see it starting to move. So now we can just finish pulling it off. Okay, so that's how to do that. Again, you'll need patience and just a little bit of perseverance to get those off and get it out of the way. So that's the process for all of these. Of course, when you get back into the back one here, you're going to have a little more trouble getting the pressure on the tab to get them loose. But that's the way to take those off and get those ready to go. All right, so we've gone ahead and loosened up all of the different clips. We showed you how to take this one off. They may be really tight because they've just got a lot of dirt and dust in them over the years. You know, we did have some struggles getting these off. Again, just remember to push usually with a small screwdriver and use something plastic to kind of help get them off of there. And wiggle the heck out of it as you go. Just kind of work it back and forth, up and down and around. Try and do that while holding on to the plastic. You really don't want to be grabbing it and trying to pull with the wires. That'll just disconnect you know, a wire out of here, and then you've got a real mess on your hands. Now the other thing I've done is this hose tends to lay right on top of the screw for this particular spark plug. So I just took a little zip tie and just tied it off just a little bit just to get it out of the way, just to make, again, to make life easier. It's always easy if you get as much out of the way as you possibly can. The 10 millimeter locking hold down bolts shouldn't be on there very tight. I'm going to use just a 1/4 inch drive to get those loose. Now with the spark plugs, you're going to need to use a 3/8, but just for getting these bolts out of there, you just don't need that much. And remember that when you're putting them on. You don't need to put them on very tight, just a good snug fit. Remember that you can take them off with a 1/4 inch drive, you can put them on with a 1/4 inch drive. And of course they don't give you a whole lot of turning room here, so just be patient while you finish turning it out of here to get it loose. Now I like doing it with my fingers just because if you spin it completely out with the ratchet, it's very easy to drop it and then you're hunting for a bolt. Come on, there we go. So I take them out with my fingers on the last little bit. So you're gonna just have to grab it and wiggle and work on it to get it to come loose. It'll eventually come loose. Depending upon how they put it together, this seal can be really tight. You can see all the dust and dirt on there that kind of locks it so that it doesn't come out quite that easily. But that goes down on top of your spark plug, and that is your coil assembly for doing your spark plug. So now you have access to getting at your spark plug directly. All right, now when you try and take these out, you'll notice that they're very, very difficult to take out. We've already talked about how dirty they get and how that'll kind of help lock them into place. The other thing that happens with these is because you have a contained volume here that gets very hot. And when it gets hot, the air in here is going to expand. And then when it cools, it's going to contract. So you're going to end up with a partial vacuum in here, which makes this even tougher to get out. So while it's down in the hole, what you want to do is put a screwdriver right here in the back and push down a little bit. Now what you'll see is that there's actually a bleed hole right back here in the rubber. And so by pushing down on there, and it doesn't take as much as I'm doing here because you won't have that much room, but just get it down a little bit and that'll open that hole up and release that vacuum that's in there and make it a lot easier to get these out of there. Otherwise, what you'll find is as you're pulling these things out, if you're good enough and strong enough, you'll hear it suction as you pull it out. You'll hear it go, you know, so you really don't want to do that. Just go ahead and just push down, give it a few minutes to equalize the pressure, and that'll make your life a lot easier. All right, so removing the spark plug is a fairly straight order process. You need a 5/8 deep socket, but get one that has a rubber boot inside to protect it. Now you can get deep sockets And you don't absolutely have to have it, but I like, when working with spark plugs, getting one that has a rubber down inside. It does a couple of things for you. One, it holds the spark plug as you pull it out, and two, it keeps you from over twisting, so as that you don't accidentally crack the spark plug, which is especially important while you're putting it in. So another thing I like to do is to use one of these wobble extensions. Now, this isn't a real big wobble, but it just gives you enough of a twist to where it makes it a little easier to line up as you're trying to get down a deep hole and it's hard to see exactly what's happening. So now we're going to go ahead and pull that spark plug. So go ahead and get it down in there, move it around until you feel it seat real nicely on the spark plug. So now we're going to go ahead and loosen that up. You have to give it a little bit of a work there, get it going, and then should loosen up fairly light quickly, and you can get it on out of there. Come on. There we go. Huh? It didn't quite finish loosening. There we go. Long threads. So you can tell if you look closely that there's a few issues with the way this spark plug was installed. First of all, it is really wise to use copper anti-seize. It helps keep the rust and the corrosion down and gives you a much better conductivity, so as you get better sparks. And as you look at this one, we'll look at a new one here in just a minute, but you can see the very, very small tip is wearing down and has gotten shorter than it should be. So now you've got a larger gap here than what is standard with the regular spark plug. If you look at the bottom, you've got a lot of carbonation here and a lot of carbon buildup or fuel, unburned fuel buildup here on this. This actually isn't bad. This particular one looks not too bad. That's pretty common for as many miles as this probably has on it. But those are some of the things you want to look for. It is a genuine Ford spark plug. It's unclear how long it's been in this particular car, but you also notice the heat damage that's being done on the ceramic here. So that's another indication that this spark plug has been in there just a little longer than it probably should have. So you'll notice that we're going to use some high temp copper formula anti-seize on the thread. You're going to use very little of it. Notice that it goes up to 2,000 degrees Fahrenheit. So this is a very high temperature one. It's not going to be an issue. Now the only thing you want to be real cautious about when you put this on is that you don't want to get it down by the lower part of the threads. You really don't want it gumming things up down in the bottom part. So you want to start up just a little higher and just kind of work it on. Now, of course, it'll go on a little thicker than you need to start off with, but that's what they make rags and paper towels for. So after you kind of get it on there, go ahead and use the brush to take as much of it off as you can. Then you'll want to go ahead and take a paper towel and just kind of dab it off of there. So now you'll notice we have the anti-seize. It's down in the threads. We've been very careful not to get any of it on the top part of it. You really don't want any there. Now, a point you'll notice in the graphic we have of the container, the little plastic paper box that the spark plug came in, that it has a couple of items on it. One, it says that this is not adjustable. So don't go getting out your spark plug adjuster and start trying to bend on this thing. You're likely to damage your spark plug more than anything. It should be preset for you. And so, and you notice the little tiny tip of this thing is very, very small, and if you start trying to adjust it, you're very likely to damage that. So make sure, if you do check it with flat gauges, not with the little wire gauges, because it's easier with the wire gauge to accidentally bend up that tip or hit that tip wrong. But if you do want to check it, go ahead and do that, but do it with a flat gauge. But they should already come from the factory set. Again, you'll notice this is a genuine Ford part, so I would trust that Ford got the gap set properly. All right, so now we're going to put it back in. So again, we're going to put it back into our socket, and we're going to push it in far enough to where it holds on that rubber that's deep in there. And now we're going to go ahead and put it into the car. Okay, once you get it down in there to where it's kind of tightening up and getting finger tight, go ahead and start using your ratchet, but don't tighten it with the ratchet. You're going to want to use a torque wrench to do the final tightening with. And again, if you'll look at the graphic with the box that this came on, it gives you the torque specs on this as well. So we'll just kind of finish getting it down in there to where it starts snugging up a little bit. And now we'll go get a torque wrench to finish torquing it to the right spec. All right, so now we've got our torque wrench on. There's a fairly wide torque band that they have for this. In terms of this particular wrench, I use the Newton meter scale. It's 10 to 20 Newton meters, so we're setting it at 15 right in the middle. And this is a pop over, so we're going to just, and there it popped. So, and sometimes I like to pop it twice just to make sure we have it. Now you just wiggle a little bit to make sure you get your, don't leave your spark plug socket down in there. And now we've got the spark plug properly installed. You know, remember how dirty this was. We've cleaned it up, put a little grease around the seal to make it, keep the seal soft and pliable, and to make it easier to go in so we're not accidentally pinching anything and it'll slide in easier. We've also put a very, very light coat of lubricant, of grease, on the outside of the clip. Again, you don't want to get it on the inside of the clip or on the any of the electrical parts. So we're now going to just slide that into place, and it should slide in very easily and nicely. And there we are. So we're in place. Again, notice how easy that was going in versus coming out. Going to put our bolt back in place. Notice how much easier things go back together again when they're clean and put together properly. Again, this is just a kind of a snug. Don't have to put too much pressure on that. Then we reassemble our clip. I heard the click, so I clicked in place. The red tab goes up. It wouldn't go up if it wasn't in place properly. And now we have that spark plug completely replaced and all put together properly. We're now going to go ahead and go around and finish up the rest of them, and then we'll come back to you to wrap up. So we finished replacing the rest of the spark plugs and have it all put together again. Be sure you check and cross-check to make sure you've hooked up all of your sensors and all of the electrical. Go ahead and pull lightly and wiggle each one of the connectors on the ignition coils to make sure that you have really got them on properly. They should have clicked and then put the tab up. We've showed you a few tricks on how to make things a little easier to take apart, also how to analyze your spark plugs, and to understand what a P0303 code means. So we're ready to be done with this project. We hope you've enjoyed it. Please click on the like button and put a thumbs up for this video. We'd really appreciate it. Subscribe to our channel, And if there's any tools or that we've talked about here in this video that you would like to order, please use our links below. It just helps us out. We've enjoyed doing this video for you. We hope you've enjoyed it also.